Hey, it's Les, and this is another episode of Art Making. In this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm drawing and how I'm drawing, and then I'm going to chat about imposter syndrome. So, for tools, I'm using my Sailor Fude fountain pen loaded with Rohr and Klinger latte black sketch ink. It's a waterproof black ink. I'm also apparently going for a super fine line with a uniball here. And I'm working on top of a previously toned page that I specifically painted with cheap Five Below watercolors uh, for a face. So I just kind of painted a rough face like thing onto the page. And now I'm drawing on top of it. I'm also going to end up using I believe it's a Pentel brush pen, which also has the latte um, ink in it. And then finally, I will use a white Bic correction pen to add some final notes of white back into the image. Um, so I'm really enjoying drawing on these toned pages that have a kind of rough outline of a portrait on it. It's kind of fun to like have this structure to work on and then force myself to fit the face that I'm drawing to the background that I've created. So in this case, I did a pink forehead, yellow eye area, a blob in the midst of the yellow for the nose, and then pink for the cheeks and top of the jaw area, and then the blue is for under the chin. I thought it worked out really well. It is kind of a mind warp to fit it in there. It kind of threw me for a loop. So I've done this a couple of times since, and I've really fallen in love with it. All right, so imposter syndrome. I'm going to throw out a caveat here. I am a therapist in my regular day jobby life. I'm not your therapist, and I am not offering this video as any sort of therapeutic advice or psychological input. Um, yeah, so this is for educational purposes only. Imposter syndrome is not something you can be formally diagnosed with. Your therapist can certainly talk to you about it. It is not something that is listed in the DSM, so it's not something that's billable, but that's neither here nor there. What I am going to do in this video is I'm going to talk a little bit about like some of the things about imposter syndrome and also my experience with it. So recently I have been hit with the worst wave of imposter syndrome I've been hit with in a really freaking long time. So imposter syndrome is a feeling of being unqualified and incompetent or not good or like you're not worthy of accolades that you get, so on and so forth, despite objectively being successful and very competent at what you're doing. People who have imposter syndrome are often comparing themselves to others, generally unfavorably and unrealistically. There's this whole perfectionism thing. There's a paralysis of like not getting things done or not going after things, even though it's something that you may really, really want. There's a lot of people pleasing and procrastination. And as I was like looking at this list of like symptoms that go along with imposter syndrome, I was like, that looks a lot like ADHD symptoms. Um, so it's always, I don't know, it's interesting to me. So the person with imposter syndrome is successful but never feels that or doesn't feel it internally. Sometimes as imposter syndrome comes and goes in waves, it's very clear that this person is successful and competent, but they don't feel it internally. It's an external and objectively recognizable thing. And like I said, this is not a formally recognized disorder recognized by any psychological group. So let me talk about my current feelings of imposter syndrome. And I have some ideas of where and why it's hitting me. So it's been hitting me in a couple of different areas in my life. First off, I have been looking at and I've been writing another zine for my useful journaling line. And that zine, I'm doing one about what I call trash printmaking. Also, I've been doing one about values journaling, which I've been talking about for ages, and it's something I'm very competent at doing. I've literally taught hundreds of people how to do values journaling from a CBT standpoint. I've used and created my own version of values journaling, which I've used multiple times, and I've talked to people, friends and coworkers and whatnot about values journaling, and I've introduced them to my style of doing it, and they've said it's worked for them. So like, here's something where I'm clearly very competent around, but I don't feel confident in my competency. And I'm constantly questioning if I'm competent for that. And part of that is it goes into being someone who went back to grad school significantly older than any of my peers. I was in my mid 30s at the time, whereas all of my peers were in their early 20s. Just, have all this extra life experience, and it I don't know, it felt kind of weird. But anyway, that's beside the point. And then, I've got tons of experience creating zines. So, and then this whole trash printmaking thing, I've been doing that for ages. And again, just don't feel confident and competent in this thing. And then I've been wanting to get back into doing workshops that I offer for pay or pay as you can. I've been doing a ton of research into that. I've been coming up with some outlines and ideas and all of this other stuff. And that was really what I got hit with a wave of imposter syndrome. All of these things, I've been having this imposter syndrome build up. But really, as I'm like thinking about doing all of these workshops, just really hit me hard. The idea that, I'm not qualified to do this. I shouldn't do it. There are lots of reasons for this. My confidence has been pretty shaky lately when it comes to these sort of semi-professional or side hustle gigs. And there are reasons for that I'm not and I can't go into on this channel. But there's reasons for it. There's a person in my life who's been pretty undermining of my success. And that's really contributed a lot to this imposter syndrome. But, this is something I really, really want to do. And I had this just like day of absolute misery where I just felt like I couldn't do it. What was I possibly thinking? And all of that negative self-talk that comes up. I was hearing voices from my teen years, crappy teachers, other people and adults in my life that were not supportive of me doing art. And I think that kind of hit hard this weekend for whatever reason. And yeah, imposter syndrome feels really terrible. It just felt really awful. And I spent a lot of time staring at my computer monitor, flipping through YouTube, watching videos of everyone else. And I took a workshop and was like, I had this moment of like, I can do this. I can do this. I have done this before. Trying to give myself this pep talk of like, I'm capable, I'm good enough, all of the things that you're told to tell yourself when you're having one of these moments. And it just didn't hit me until today that this is something I really want and it's something I'm going to do. I need to figure out how to do it and give myself a to-do list of things to do. So that is where I'm at right now, feeling much better about it. But I thought it was always having a conversation about imposter syndrome and sharing your work is always, always, always important. And so with that, I am out of time on this video. I'm going to say thank you for being here. Thanks for joining me again. I really, really appreciate all of you who stick with the channel. It's fantastic. And I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And if you enjoy this video, hit that subscription button, the thumbs up, like, and all of that fun stuff. And share the video on your social media. Thanks and bye.